In a world where combat professions have spread everywhere, we see a simple young man named Ain working within the lowest class, and because of that he was constantly bullied by everyone around him, until Ain began to hate himself and even wanted to end his life, because he could no longer endure hearing more insults about his profession and weakness. But then the day comes when his entire life turns completely upside down, when he meets a beautiful girl by coincidence who saves him from what he was going through, and grants him great powers he had never dreamed of, and he begins with her a long journey of discovering the world. And one day, Ain is working for an adventurer named Zoid and his companion, and together they are on a mission to eliminate monsters, and Ain's job is to go to the corpses and collect the loot from them. So Zoid attacks one of the giant rats in order to distract it, while his companion activates her spell and finishes it completely, and his companion creates balls of fire and throws them at that rat and burns it until it dies. So Zoid calls Ain by the nickname Garbage Collector, and tells him come on it is your turn now. So Ain walks toward him but he stumbles on the way while walking. So Zoid looks at him angrily and tells him you are completely useless, I do not even know why I hired you to work with me. So Ain stands up and apologizes to him and goes toward the rat's corpse, and says to himself unfortunately I belong to the lowest class. When we are born our work is written for us for the rest of our lives, and jobs are also inherited across generations, and it is impossible to change them. Professions are divided into 3 classes. A rare class which includes only the talented, and it contains rich merchants and military commanders. The second class is the high class, which includes people like Zoid and his companion, and they are swordsmen and mages. And finally the third class, which is the lowest one, and they are farmers and people who cannot fight. And Ain uses his appraisal skill, through which he can determine the rarity of the thing in front of him, and decide whether it will benefit them or not. And he finds that the rat's tooth is valuable and will be sold for a lot of money, and he tries to pull it out with force but cannot, so he shyly asks Zoid and his companion for help. So Zoid replies angrily, are you crazy? You want me to touch that filthy corpse? Corpses are the responsibility of garbage collectors only. Then he grabs a stone and throws it at him. So Ain looks at him with an angry gaze. So Zoid walks toward him and kicks him in the face, and tells him how dare you look at me like that? You should be grateful to me because I generously allowed you to work with me. So Ain stands up from the ground, wipes the blood from his face, and apologizes to them for what he did. Then he goes to the rat and opens its mouth, and puts his hand inside to pull the tooth out of it, while Zoid and his companion keep mocking him and his profession, and they say we cannot believe you actually put your hand into that disgusting thing. The main reason we let you work with us is because I would never touch trash like you. So Ain says to himself they are right, my job is collecting garbage, and unfortunately I have no choice but to endure this humiliation in order to stay alive in this world. And Ain takes his bag and continues walking with them to complete their mission. While they are walking they find the corpse of a dead dog on the road, so Zoid looks at it and becomes very happy, and calls Ain to take the rare materials from its body so they can sell them and earn money. So Ain asks in confusion, are we really supposed to find a dog like this lying in the road? But Zoid becomes angry and approaches him and kicks him so he would work without speaking. So Ain is forced to go to the dog even though he feels something is wrong about the place they are in. And while he gathers the materials he notices another path in the area. So Ain looks around in shock and says there is something strange here. The map we got from the Adventurers Guild says there is only one passage in this place. Listen to me and let us withdraw quickly. But Zoid tells him fine, if you want to return then, go back alone. But leave the money bag I gave you here, because you want to disobey your leader and leave. You now have 2 choices, either leave the money and run away, or come with us and stay quiet. So Ain thinks for a moment and says to himself, no one else will hire someone with my profession again. I finally found a job where I can earn money. If Zoid fires me now I will sleep on the streets. So he is forced to agree unwillingly. So the 3 of them walk a little further along the path, and they find a group of hunting dogs dead on the ground. So Zoid looks at them happily because he will sell their corpses for a lot of money. So Ain tells him there is something strange here who could kill all of these dogs. If adventurers like us did this they would have taken the materials already. But Zoid looks at him angrily and shouts at him to continue working. But suddenly a group of living hunting dogs appears in front of them. So Ain says while trembling with fear all the corpses we saw were the result of the dogs fighting each other because of hunger. So Zoid's companion says what will we do now? Even if I cooperate with you we cannot defeat even one of them. So how will we escape from this many? So Zoid thinks for a moment then looks at his companion with a smile and tells her use the paralysis spell on Ain. When she hears that she smiles as well and turns toward Ain and tells him forgive me for what I am about to do, but I do not want to die now. Then she casts the spell on him and says do not worry, it will not last long, you might escape later if you are lucky. Then Zoid calls the dogs and points toward Ain, and the 2 of them betray him and run away, while Ain sits there shocked, unable to believe it. Because within seconds the dogs will eat him, and he looks at them approaching him while crying. The dogs jump on him and bite his arms and legs, and Ain screams loudly from the pain. But he suddenly notices that the spell effect has faded, so he grabs a brick from the ground and strikes the dogs around him, then quickly stands up and throws the food he has toward them to distract them, and runs away quickly even though he can barely walk. And when he reaches the exit he finds that Zoid and his companion destroyed it. So he looks with intense anger and slams his hand on the rubble, then he notices a small path, and decides to walk through it without thinking, and when he reaches the end he finds it blocked with a deep pit below. He stands there confused, not knowing what to do, and says, if I go back the dogs will eat me, and if I move forward I will fall into the pit and die. So Ain laughs because there is no other solution, and says while preparing himself to jump and end his life, all of this happened because I was born in the lowest class. I struggled just to stay alive, and endured the mockery of Zoid and his companion, and they even betrayed me and abandoned me, because I cannot fight and I am useless. And in the end only moments remain before I die. All I kept doing was blaming my profession and nothing more. If I had tried to show myself as stronger, my fate might have changed. But now the time is gone. And Ain jumps from above while smiling and waiting to reach the bottom so he can die. After a while Ain opens his eyes and finds himself in a very strange place. In front of him stands a gigantic tree with no visible end. And he looks at himself in confusion and examines his body, saying, how am I alive? All the wounds on my body have also been healed. And he stands up to explore the place around him and looks at the tree. Then drops of water fall on him, and Ain uses his appraisal skill to know what that water is, and he discovers that they are drops from the world tree that can instantly heal wounds and illnesses, so he looks at them in great astonishment. And he says a long time ago there was only one world tree in existence, and through it magical energy was produced so it could be used, and it is said that it withered and died long ago and no longer exists. So the question that was always asked was, how does magical energy still exist if the world tree died? So scholars assumed that other world trees must exist somewhere else, so expeditions were sent to search for them. But despite searching across the entire world, they did not find even one. So Ain says who would have expected the world tree to be inside this dungeon, and he approaches it and thanks it because it saved him. And suddenly Ain hears the voice of a girl. So he turns around trying to see who it is, but he finds no one there, and says, I must be imagining things. This place is extremely calm and pure. I do not sense the presence of any monsters here. Anyway, what should I do now? There is no food or water here. I must leave before I starve. He looks into the distance and notices a door that leads outside, so he runs toward it quickly to leave this place, and thanks the tree once again before departing. And as soon as he reaches the door he says, I did not see this place on the map, which means this area is unexplored and the guild knows nothing about it. There might be monsters here stronger than hunting dogs, and he feels afraid but tries to remain calm, and says, I am terrified but I must go forward because I have no other choice. Then he picks up a stone from the ground in case a monster appears, and continues walking. While he walks he barely finds any monsters, so Ain begins to feel a little relieved. But suddenly someone strikes him with a sword and cuts off his ear. Ain screams from the pain and falls to the ground because of the agony, and stretches his hand trying to reach his ear. But suddenly another sword cuts through the tips of his fingers, and he screams loudly from the pain, and when he looks beside him he notices a very powerful monster standing in front of him. Then the monster rushes toward him and keeps slashing him with the sword it holds, so Ain collapses on the ground in unbearable pain, and tries to crawl on the ground to escape. But the monster raises its sword preparing to bring it down and kill him. But suddenly the monster stops moving in its place, so Ain looks at it in confusion, and notices a gigantic rock falling on it and crushing it to death. But he is quickly shocked when he sees that the one who did this is a giant bear monster with powerful claws. So Ain stands before it trembling with fear, and the monster raises its paw and slashes him with its claws, cutting his face and destroying his eyes. So Ain grabs his face while screaming in pain, and collapses on the ground bleeding heavily. Then the bear grabs him and lifts him up, and squeezes him tightly until his vital organs are crushed. So Ain looks at it with the gaze of someone facing death and accepts his inevitable fate. But suddenly a strange woman appears and tears the monster's head off. Ain looks at her in confusion, but he cannot endure any longer and loses consciousness. When Ain opens his eyes again he finds himself in the same place standing before the world tree, and quickly checks his body and realizes that there are no injuries on him. And suddenly he sees a girl standing before him holding a cup of tea. The girl looks at his face and smiles because he has finally awakened. Then someone comes from beside them named Ursula, and tells him, honestly, I was not planning to save a creature like you. But Yori insisted that I help you, and because of that I had no other choice except to kill that monster, so Ain thanks both of them, and asks them where are you and where am I? So Ursula tells him I am the guardian of this tree, this world has 9 trees like this, and we are the ones who protect them when they are exposed to external attacks. And I have lived here since Yori was planted in this place. You could say she is the world tree itself. So Ain tells her the bear struck me hard in my eye and destroyed it. Besides that I had severe wounds. How did you heal me? So Ursula replies to him Yori is the one who saved you through drops from the world tree. But since we could not return your eye again we placed an artificial eye made from the tree core in its place. And all of that happened because Yori kept insisting that I use my power to let you see again. So Ain looks at her in shock. And he asks Yori why are you doing all of this for me? So she replies because you thanked me when I saved you the first time. Usually when someone falls here and I help them they do not thank me. And when they discover that I am the world tree, they cut my leaves and branches and take them with them. Because of that I became very happy when you thanked me. So when Ain hears those words he smiles at her and thanks her again. So Ursula says anyway since you are alive now take yourself and leave this place. But Yori objects to her and tells her the road outside is dangerous. And if Ain leaves now he will die again. And she begs her to find a solution so Ursula replies I am the guardian of the world tree and I cannot move far away from you in order to escort him outside, and teleportation magic also does not work in this place. When she sees Yori sad and crying Ursula is forced to train him herself so he can become strong and leave this place on his own. So Yori runs toward her and hugs her and thanks her for what she will do. So Ain looks at her in shock that she will train him and begins to cry and promises that he will give all his effort in the training. After that Ursula takes Ain and they go outside the place so they can face monsters again. And she tells him if we begin with theoretical study, you will not gain anything. You must learn practically from the start so we do not waste time. I will make you stronger as fast as possible. And Ursula points toward a distant place but Ain sees nothing except darkness around him. So she tells him angrily I replaced your eye with the core of the world tree. And even after all that you still cannot see anything. Focus carefully and look again. So Ain closes his eye and remembers what happened to him and the darkness he was in and Yori saving him. And when he opens his eye again he sees the whole place illuminated as if there are flashes of light everywhere. Suddenly the monster carrying the sword descends on them and rushes toward Ain to strike him, but Ain lowers himself and dodges the attack. So Ursula tells him you must dodge all his movements, and this is the first lesson of your training. You have the appraisal ability, right? Use it with your artificial eye. So quickly Ain uses his skill and discovers that the monster will cut his right ear, but he still cannot dodge the attack and the monster succeeds in cutting it. So Ursula tells him this artificial eye can evaluate things that the human eye cannot evaluate, like the movements of monsters for example, and Ursula approaches him and heals his ear using drops from the world tree. And tells him I took this water from Yori, which means every time the monster cuts you, I will be able to heal you again. But it is better for you to learn quickly so you do not suffer. Then the monster rushes toward him to strike him, and quickly Ain uses the appraisal skill to know its movement, and he discovers that it will strike his left leg, and he says I will not even be able to dodge his attack at that speed, I must know the exact moment of his attack and move at that moment. And Ain uses the skill again and discovers the correct timing of the attack, and he truly manages to dodge it. So he looks at Ursula feeling very happy, but quickly the monster comes from behind him and cuts his back. So Ain realizes that he should not celebrate early or become proud of himself, and he stands again feeling motivated to continue his training. After 1 week Ain becomes able to dodge the monster's attacks easily and knows exactly when to use the appraisal skill. So Ursula tells him now your second lesson has come, you must defeat this monster. I know you do not have combat abilities, I will train you to use your eye for everything. Take this stick, it is a sword made from the wood of the world tree. Yori gave it to me so it can help you. She endured the pain of breaking that branch for your sake. If you break this sword I will destroy you. So Ain takes the sword from her and stands in front of the monster and uses his eye to determine the location and timing of its attack and tries to use that to kill it. But when the monster approaches him it manages to dodge Ain's strike. But Ain does not surrender and tries once again, but still cannot hit it. So Ursula shouts at him and tells him how many times must I tell you use other abilities from your eye. So Ain stands before the monster once again and uses his eye to slow the monster's speed in his vision. And finally Ain manages to strike it with the sword and kill it, and he stands happily for what he accomplished feeling extremely joyful. So Ursula walks toward him and hits him on the head and tells him we have not done anything yet. I want you to defeat every monster in this place right now. After a while Ain actually manages to defeat all the monsters, So Ursula tells him now we move to the next lesson. Evaluate the skill of that monster and take its power. Humans can gain strength by learning abilities, but monsters are born with special skills of their own. So use your artificial eye and make those abilities yours. So Ain uses his skill and takes the monster's powers, but suddenly he feels a severe headache in his head and falls to the ground from the pain. And after it calms down a little, he uses the monster's abilities and manages to run at tremendous speed. So she tells him now use the appraisal skill on me and take my abilities. I have the ability to use magic just by thinking about it, which means you can use magic without any spells. This ability will be useful in fast battles. Ain then begins a new training journey in using magic, but since his profession never required him to use magic, his magical energy was extremely low, and that caused Ain many problems, but Yori kept increasing his energy through the world tree. After a month of training, Ain becomes able to use magic very well, and after that Ain goes with Ursula so they can fight the giant bear. But Ain feels very nervous and afraid, so Ursula encourages him and pushes him toward the bear. So Ain says Ursula is right, I am not the same person I was before, I will be able to defeat this monster. Ain uses fire magic and aims it toward the bear, but his accuracy is poor and he fails to hit it, so Ain tries another method and rushes toward it with his speed, and uses a skill from his artificial eye to slow the monster's speed. And he uses wind magic on it and manages to affect it. But even so, the bear does not die. So Ain quickly uses fire magic again and sends a large group of fireballs toward it and finally manages to kill it. So Ain looks at it while it is dead and feels extremely proud of himself. So Ursula tells him, since you reached this stage, all you have to do now is defeat the monsters while you move toward the surface, because your training is finished now. After that, the two of them return again to Yori, and Ursula tells him there Yori wants to give you a gift, and she gives him the world tree core, which is what I used to create your eye, and I will use the rest to develop it. I placed a spell on it, so it will return you here again once you do close your eye, so I can place it now. And she tells him the power you now possess equals the strength of entire armies, so Ain looks at her and smiles, and thanks Yori as well for everything she did for him. But suddenly he does not find her beside him, and looks around to see her, but suddenly Yori comes out from his artificial eye, and when Ain sees her he becomes extremely surprised and asks her, where did you appear from? So Ursula tells him, I planted the entire core of the world tree inside you, so Yori can simply live inside your eye, because she wants to go with you to the surface. Honestly, I did not want to leave her with you, but since Yori was born she has had no one except me. She has always been lonely, and never had any friends. Take her with you and let her see the world. So Ain promises her that he will protect her with his life. Then Ursula asks him to extend his hand, and she draws a strange mark on it and tells him, I placed the infinite storage spell on your hand. You can place a huge number of items inside it, and take this sword as well, keep it with you. I forged it from extremely strong materials, but before I give it to you, forgive me for what I am about to do. Then Ursula pulls out the sword and stabs it into Ain's natural eye, so Ain falls to the ground in pain and asks her, why are you doing this? Then Ursula takes out a magic stone and places it inside Ain's eye socket, and that stone replaces his natural eye. And she tells him, I connected your eye with me permanently, and through that I will be able to communicate with you anytime, and I will see everything you do. So Ain looks at her in surprise. Then he asks Yori, is there something specific you want to do when you reach the surface? I want to repay the kindness you showed me. So she replies, I only want to see my family. I want to see my little and older sisters. We were originally one world tree, but we split into 9 trees, and each tree went to its own place. I lived with my sisters before we were separated. So Ain extends his hand to her and promises that he will fulfill her dream, and tells her, come on, let us travel and see your family. So Yori looks at him, unable to believe it, that she may finally reunite with her sisters again, and she smiles at him while tears of joy fall from her eyes. After that, Ain leaves the tree and makes his way toward the exit path and stands before the road, unsure which direction to take. So Ursula tells him through his eye, I drew the path for your exit. Follow the arrows and you will not get lost, and be careful, because a monster is approaching you. It is a giant poisonous snake. Prepare for battle quickly. So Ain draws his sword and eliminates the snake in the blink of an eye. Then he goes to it, evaluates it, and takes its ability, and feels a severe headache in his head, but Yori quickly heals him, so Ain thanks her deeply. After a while, Ain stands before the exit gate, and he must enter it and defeat the guardian protecting it. And that monster is considered one of the strongest monsters because it protects the core of the dungeon that leads to the tree. So Ain says, Ursula and Yori taught me how to defeat powerful monsters, but this one is unlike any and I faced before. And Ain trembles slightly. Then Yori appears and holds his hand to reassure him not to be afraid. So Ain replies, you are right, I am not the same Ain as before, the one who collected garbage and always kept his head lowered. I now possess the power of the world tree. So Ain opens the gate and enters inside and approaches the dungeon core. But suddenly a magic circle appears from nowhere, and the gate guardian emerges from it, so Ain quickly orders Yori to return inside his eye and rushes toward the monster to begin the battle. But the monster raises its hand and strikes him, so Ain uses Iron Arm magic to block the attack, but the strike is extremely powerful, far stronger than Ain expected. Yet with difficulty Ain pushes the monster's hand away and uses the snake poison he just obtained and manages to dissolve the monster's entire arm. Then the monster raises its other hand and strikes toward him, but Ain quickly steps back and dodges the blow, so Ursula tells him now is the time to use the special spell I taught you, but be careful, because the amount of energy you have will allow you to use it only once. So Ain stands before the monster, gathers his strength, and casts the spell on it and manages to burn it until it dies, and he looks at the destruction he caused in surprise, unable to believe he defeated such a powerful monster. So Yori appears and praises him for what he did. Ain looks at her and thanks her and tells her, I could never have done all of this alone, everything happened because of you and Ursula. Then he goes to the monster, uses the appraisal skill, and takes its abilities and powers. After that the three of them go and stand before the dungeon core, and Ursula tells him this core resembles the core of the world tree. Through it, I can strengthen your eye. So Ain agrees immediately, unable to believe that his eye can evolve even further. So Ursula takes the core and implants it into Ain's eye and raises its level. After that the three of them leave together and rise to the surface once again, and begin a long journey around the world to reunite the family once more with Ain's help. At sunset Zoid is sitting in a cafe with his friends, pretending to be sad about Ain's death, and even inventing a story from his imagination to lie to them. But suddenly something happens that Zoid never expected, because Ain walks in and tells them who died. So when Zoid sees him he freezes in shock and asks him, how are you still alive? You should be dead by now. So Ain replies, I left her, I defeated the dog. So Zoid grabs him tightly and angrily tells him, do not lie to me, it is impossible for you to defeat those monsters. Then his friends say, why are you not happy? The person who saved you from death is standing in front of you, you should be happy. So when Ain hears that he becomes confused, and tells them, I did not save anyone. Zoid and his companion used a paralysis spell on me, and left me as bait for the dogs while they escape. So quickly Zoid tries to deny it, but his friends do not believe him and begin throwing things at him. But the surprise is that Ain defends him and tells them Zoid is the only one who allowed me to work with him, even though I was useless, and besides that when he abandoned me it led me to meet Yori and Ursula, who changed my life completely. And he approaches Zoid, thanks him, then turns and leaves. So Zoid looks at him shocked, unable to understand anything, and many questions begin spinning in his mind. The next day Ain walks in the forest with Ursula and Yori searching for the other world trees, and while they are walking they hear a scream coming from far away, so Ain tells them to enter his eye, and rushes quickly toward the source of the sound. When he arrives he finds a group of monsters attacking a carriage, so he kills all the monsters while Ain and Ursula treat the injured, and he goes to a man and a woman sitting beside the carriage and asks them, are you alright? The man replies, yes, thank you for saving us. My name is Jasper, the head of a trading company, and the girl with me is the princess of the kingdom. After that Jasper takes them and brings them to his palace, and the princess thanks them for helping her, and offers them a place to stay in the palace. Then Jasper approaches Ain and asks him if they can talk for a while, and tells him, I want you to come with me somewhere first. So Jasper leads them down to the basement, and they enter a place filled with jewels and many rare items, and he tells them, my mission is to protect the jewels of the world, so they will keep their brilliance forever. And then he asks Ain, your left eye is the world tree core, right? So Ain looks at him surprised. Jasper tells him a long time ago the magic of the world existed above the ground, so it could resist the attacks of the Demon King who was trying to destroy the entire world. But in one battle the tree exhausted all its power, and that caused it to split into 9 parts. I have been searching for that core for a very long time, and you suddenly appeared before me. I am very impressed by your eye. Then Ursula tells Ain, this is a great opportunity for us. This man certainly knows information about the otherworld trees, which means we might obtain any clue that leads us there. So Ain walks toward him and asks him to help him find the other trees. After that Ain reaches the place of the secret dungeon where the tree is located after taking the information from Jasper, and he enters the place with Yori and Ursula, and while he is walking he reaches a blocked end. So Ursula tells him, the wall in front of you is an illusion. You can enter the dungeon if you simply touch it. So when Ain touches, the place immediately transforms into a large forest with a breathtaking appearance. Suddenly the world tree, who is Yori's sister, speaks to them through a magical crystal and warmly welcomes them. So when Yori hears her voice, she becomes happy and tells Ain, that is Bina, my little sister, and she asks her, where are you? So Bina replies, I am at the end of the place where you are now, but be careful not to get lost in the forest, and unfortunately teleportation does not work here. Ain orders Yori to enter inside his eye and begins his journey to reach Bina, Yori's sister, while Bina feels very excited and happy because she is certain Ain will not be able to pass that dangerous place, and when she watches him she sees that he's about to fall into a hidden pit. But Ursula warns Ain that there is a pit there and he manages to avoid falling easily. Ain continues moving between the traps and pits safely, so Bina looks at him angrily and shouts, "I worked very hard to create those traps." And suddenly a plant monster appears before Ain and throws poisonous gas at him, but Ain is not affected by the gas because he possesses a resistance skill that allows him to resist any poison. He draws his sword, strengthens it, and manages to split the monster in front of him into two halves and evaluates its power and takes it, while at the same time Bina sits there extremely angry because he defeated the monster easily, and suddenly Ain is struck by a monster that uses an invisibility skill, but he is still not affected by their attacks because of the strength he gained over time. So Bina angrily tells him, "How are you able to do all that? But anyway, will never hit my hidden monsters." Ain stands still waiting for the right moment and uses magic to collapse the ground and manages to crush Bina's ants. But he suddenly finds two more monsters rushing toward him, yet Ain quickly draws his sword and destroys both. Looks at him with her mouth wide open in shock, unable to believe he defeated all those monsters with just a single swing of the sword, and she grabs her head and hits the ground from frustration. On the other side, Zoid goes again to the cafe under the unpleasant looks and gossip of the people, and he notices his companion standing there and quickly calls her, asking, "Where were you all this time?" So she pretends to cry and tells him, "Stay away, I've wanted to use that spell on Amy. I never the one who forced me when you threatened me, so he will take revenge." After that, Zoid goes to the dungeon where Bina's world tree is located, planning to defeat a powerful monster there and return to the city with it. But suddenly, when touches the wall, he is instantly transported in the forest, and he looks around confused, not understanding what is happening, and says, "Maybe I will find powerful monsters here like the hunting dogs," and he moves carefully, being tossed, but suddenly he falls into one of Bina's pits and finds himself outside the forest again. Then Bina tells him, "No one dies in my forest, come back and try again anytime." So Zoid asks himself, "Who are you? And where are you?" Then he stands quickly and decides to enter the forest again, but every time he falls into Bina's traps and is expelled outside. Until one time, while walking in the forest, he encounters a giant dragon, and the dragon inflicts a severe wound on his shoulder, and Zoid collapses on the ground from pain. But he refuses to give up and tries to stand to continue the fight, yet the dragon comes from behind him, steps on his hand, and opens its mouth to eat him. But suddenly Ain arrives quickly and kills the monster with a single sword strike, and when Zoid sees him he becomes extremely shocked and asks him, "What are you doing here? It is impossible for a garbage collector like you to kill such a monster with one strike." So Ain asks Yori to heal him and uses the water drops to cure his wounds. Then he touches him with his finger and uses the unconsciousness kill and asks Bina to remove him from that place immediately. After that, Ain reaches the dungeon core and asks in confusion, "If I defeat the monster here, will the gate leading to the world tree be destroyed?" So Ursula replies, "As long as the core is intact, it will not be destroyed." So Ain enters the gate and searches for the monster inside, and suddenly is the ground shaking, so he flies quickly into the air and becomes shocked when he sees the enormous size of the monster he must face. Ain says, "It is impossible for me to defeat a monster of that size. It is probably as large as the entire forest," and he uses fireball magic to attack it. But he becomes even more shocked when he sees the monster is not affected even by a scratch. Ain approaches it and stands on the ground waiting for the monster to step on him with its feet, and he realizes he was not injured at all. So Ain says, "Just as I expected, the monster before is not real, it is only an illusion," and indeed the monster transforms into a very small turtle. Souls, Bina, "I managed to overcome your illusion. I will never kill a small and creature like this, so consider me the winner of this battle." She opens the gate for them and waits for them, so Yori runs toward her and hugs her tightly, feeling happy because she finally saw her sister, and Bina asks them to let her accompany them on their journey because she is tired of staying in that place, and tells Ain, "I will give you my world tree core." So Ain agrees because he wants to make Yori happy. And when Bina hears that, she becomes extremely joyful and runs to hug her sister. Suddenly the turtle that was with Ain transforms into Bina's world tree guardian, so Ain stands there shocked at what he sees, unable to believe that the turtle is actually the guardian of the tree, and the guardian goes to greet Ursula, and Ain becomes even more surprised when he sees Ursula speaking politely because she was always angry with him. Ain approaches the guardian and asks her to allow Bina to travel with them on their journey, and the guardian immediately agrees and tells him, "Honestly, I also want to go with you," and she gives him a magical stone so she can travel with them, and shows him her skill, telling him, "Do not worry, I will be useful when you encounter monsters." After a while, Ursula approaches Ain and implants Bina's world tree core inside him, and Ain feels happy that he was able to make Yori happy, so Ursula thanks him for helping her. The next day Jasper goes with Ain to the Adventurers Guild so Ain can sell the materials he collected from the monster corpses, but he was not comfortable going there, because he did not want people to mock him, so a receptionist approaches them and asks Ain for his guild card. Jasper places his hand on Ain and tells him show them the materials you have so they believe you, and Ain actually takes the materials out from the storage inside his shame. She realizes they're extremely rare materials from powerful monsters. Suddenly the guild master enters and tells them only foolish people judge someone based on their profession, and she walks toward Ain, welcomes him, and praises his artificial eye so Ain stands there shocked, because she realized that it is not his real eye. After a while the receptionist examines Ain's materials and discovers they are actually real and not fake, and she apologizes to him deeply for her rude behavior toward him. So the people look at him in shock, unable to believe that someone from that class could accomplish such things. Later at night Ain sits with Bina's guardian so they can talk for a while, and he tells her, I still cannot believe I will gather 6 more sisters. And she replies, no, you should gather 7. Yes, the first tree withered and died, but its core still exists and was not destroyed, which means the Great World Tree is still alive till now. It must exist somewhere in this world. We still do not know where it is. And we also do not know which dun could lead us to it, so Ain promises her will do the impossible to find it. The next day in Jasper's palace, Ain wakes up, and when he goes to the meeting room he finds the guildmaster sitting with Jasper, and she tells him, I have a dangerous mission for you, and I am certain there is no one else who very powerful dragon. After that Ain travels to the heart of the desert searching for the dragon in that place, and Ursula tells him through his eye, be careful, this dragon can absorb spells and take magical energy from them, which means you will not be able to use the spells I taught you at all. And that means you must fight only with your sword. The dragon will remain underground, so you're it outside first. Ain draws his sword and prepares for battle and uses the explosion spell to blast the ground, and suddenly the giant dragon emerges from beneath the earth, and looks at Ain angrily and tells him, since the day I was born I have never encountered anyone stronger than me. Even if all the armies of the world united, they would not be able to harm me. You look weak and very small, yet it seems you can use magic, but unfortunately magic is useless against me. Are you to wake me and challenge me? Ain replies, I am Ain, and I came to free the world from your evil. So the dragon looks at him and laughs hysterically, and says, do you really think a weak creature like you could even touch me? I will kill you now and torture you, so you become an example for anyone who dares to oppose me. And the dragon releases blasts of wind from its mouth and launches them toward him, but Ain runs and avoids the attacks. The dragon looks at him angrily and raises barriers in front of Ain while he runs across the sand, but Ain manages to pass them and rushes quickly toward the dragon and cuts its arm. So the dragon looks at the wound in shock and asks him, how were you able to cut it? My skin is as strong as steel. And the dragon dives beneath the sand and rushes toward him, then emerges from underground and manages to swallow him, believing he has finally defeated Ain. But suddenly rays of light burst from every part of the dragon's body, and it explodes, and every piece of it flies in different directions. So the dragon stands there shocked, asks itself, and how did all this happen? After that Ain returns to the palace and the princess approaches him and tells him the king wants to meet you personally, so he enters. And when Ain sees the ruler he feels overwhelmed with fear, unable to believe he is standing before him. The king tells him, I heard a lot about you and learned that you defeated the legendary dragon. That mission was extremely dangerous, and I wanted to meet you personally and thank you for saving my daughter. You are a very strong young man, and I made from the world tree core is remarkable. On the other side, Zoid walks through the streets of the Empire, and hears that Ain defeated the legendary dragon, and he also notices that people everywhere praise him greatly, so he tells himself, every place I go I hear his name, yet not long ago I was stronger than him. He was supposed to collect my garbage. If only he had died in the dungeon back then. Suddenly a strange woman approaches him, and the surprise is that she is the Great World Tree who was supposed to have withered and died, and she tells him, I can help you if you want. You seem very angry at someone named Ain. On the other side, Ain is sleeping and dreaming as if he is in a strange world, and he sees himself with Zoid being humiliated at the moment when he went to collect his money from him, and at that time Zoid told him, you must keep thanking me, because someone like you does not deserve even a single coin from me. Yet at that moment Ain laughs in his face and accepts his words. Ain looks at himself angrily and lowers his eyes to the ground, and when he raises his sight he sees the dogs eating him, and when he approaches a little he finds himself dead and drowned in his blood. Ain suddenly wakes up from sleep frightened and finds Ursula sitting beside him, and she tells him, you exhausted yourself too much, And then you slept for a long time. You must calm yourself a little. Yori and her sister were worried about you, so Ain asks her where is Yori. So she replies she went to the city with Bina to buy some things and I am tracking her location and seeing what she is doing. We can go there if anything happens, but for now you must rest a little. I found your crying while you were asleep. At the same time in the city, the woman who approached Zoid tells him, my name is Echidna, and I can help you take revenge on Ain. Do you know the eyes made from the world tree core, and it has 2 of them already, and through them he gained tremendous power. So Zoid strikes the ground with anger and tells her I knew something was wrong. It is impossible for him to gain that power naturally. So she replies, what do you think? If you want, I am the reedest in the trees, and I can give you my own core. Zoid stands up and approaches her and tells her, please, give it to me. So Echidna summons an eye made from her tree core and implants it in the middle of his head, and suddenly Zoid feels power flowing through his body, and he begins transforming into a huge powerful monster. So Echidna orders him to go and capture the world trees first, and afterward he will be able to kill Ain. Zoid launches himself with tremendous speed, jumping and running across the rooftops, and says, I feel my body becoming light and incredibly powerful. And while moving he sees his companion standing with another man, so he looks at her smiling, and immediately rushes toward her without thinking. So she and the man beside her stare at him in shock, and ask how can a monster be inside the city? But Zoid instantly bites the man's head off, and tells his companion, what will you do now? There is no one here to protect you from me. His companion stands there shocked and crying, and realizes the monster in front of her is Zoid, and she tells him while frightened and confused, I am very sorry, we can become friends again. I can go to the guild and say that I was the one who used the paralysis spell on Ain. But Zoid suddenly attacks her and devours her head. At the same time, Yori and Bina are walking through the streets of the city to buy some supplies for Ain because he is tired. And while they are standing there, they hear explosions coming from far away and people shouting that a monster is approaching, and they see an injured child stumbling while running. So Yori quickly runs to Rum to heal him, and tells him run away from immediately, we will go treat the rest of the people. After a while Yori heals all the injured people, and suddenly Zoid appears behind her, and attempts to strike her with a punch to kill her, but Bena quickly creates a defensive barrier and traps him inside it and grabs her sister's hand, and escapes quickly, while Zoid tries to destroy the barrier but fails. Then Echidna tells him use the power of the eye I gave you and activate the anti-defense skill. Zoid releases an aura from his body, gathers his strength, and strikes the barrier, destroying it easily, then leaps into the air quickly to chase the sisters and lands before them. So Bina creates another defensive barrier, but Zoid uses his skill, strikes it, and throws her away. So Bina stands there shocked by what happened and asks, how did he destroy the barrier so easily, while looking at him in tears. Zoid walks toward her, but Yori stands in front of him and orders Bina to escape while she holds him off. So Zoid grabs her tightly and begins squeezing her slowly and tells her, I will kill you because you gave Ain the tree eye, and he raises his hand to tear off her head. But suddenly Ain appears and strikes him with his sword, saving Yori at the last moment. Ain stands before the monster without realizing that it is Zoid and says, I have never seen a monster like this before. So Zoid rushes toward him to strike him, but Ain blocks the attack and throws him away. Yet Zoid quickly stands again to continue the battle, so Ain creates a defensive barrier to slow him down for a moment, not realizing that Zoid can destroy it easily. Zoid laughs at him and says, I gained the power of the tree and became strong just like you. Then he punches Ain strongly in the face and throws him away and charges toward him, attempting to strike him with his claws, but Ain manages to evade him. Then Zoid releases arms from his back and throws them toward him, but Ain dodges all of them. Suddenly Ain feels the ground shaking beneath him and leaps quickly before Zoid's arms can pierce him. Then Zoid approaches him and says, what do you think of my power? But there is something that surprises me. If you possess the same power, why did you not kill everyone who humiliated you? My companion killed her because she betrayed me. You are exactly like me. I know you want to take revenge on me because I kept bullying you all the time. So Ain tells him angrily, it is impossible for me to be like you, but suddenly another version of Ain appears behind him and whispers in his ear, did you never once think about taking revenge on him? Everyone mocked you because you belong to the lowest class. They all called you garbage collector, and you and Zoid are not different at all. Then Yori speaks and says, Ain can never be like you. He is not a bully like you, and he does not hate anyone. Then Ursula also calls out to Ain and tells him, you are very strong now, and you use that power to save weak people. You never harmed anyone weaker than you, and besides that you promised Yori you would repay the kindness. She showed you the courage and kindness inside you are not something you gained, they were always inside you. Yori tells him, I am here today because you allowed me to reunite with my family once again. So Ain begins crying and says, I always believed the world was cruel because it judged people according to their profession. I was weak and useless, but Yori Yuri helped me because she trusted me and I do not want to betray that trust. So Ain releases an enormous aura and Zoid stands there shocked by that power. Ursula tells him you have now become a true guardian. After you acknowledged your strength you will be able to use 100% of the power of the tree eye. So Zoid rushes toward him to kill him, but Ain looks at him and punches him hard, throwing him away. So Zoid stands again and runs toward him, but Ain creates a defensive barrier to block his attack and Zoid stands shocked because he cannot destroy the barrier like before. He steps back and asks Echidna to give him more power and Zoid feels the power flowing through his body, even more making him stronger than before, and he rushes toward Ain to kill him. So Ain draws his sword, gathers his strength and strikes him with tremendous magical energy, destroying the tree eye and Zoid returns to his normal form again. Ain approaches him and extends his hand and Zoid asks him, "Why are you trying to help me? You act as if you are strong but you are weak and cowardly." And he begins crying, and after that the guards arrive and arrest Zoid. So Ain says to himself, someone must have manipulated him and granted him the power of the tree, but who could it be? Later at night Echidna goes to the battlefield and picks up the broken eye from the ground, and says, "I learned a lot of information about Ain. My plan went well, the only thing missing was that Zoid did not die. But anyway, from now on I will begin my plan to revive the Demon King again." And after that, Echidna goes to one of the 5 demons and tells him, "I want you to kill a young man named Ain. And be careful, this person is very strong. He was able to kill the legendary dragon by himself." So he replies to her, "Dragons compared to our power are nothing. I will definitely be able to defeat him easily." And this demon opens a gate to the human world and goes to kill Ain and rushes with great speed until he reaches him. And he introduces himself to Ain and tells him, "I came here to kill you," and rushes at him to carry out his mission. But Ain slaps him and throws him away and goes to him quickly while he is in the air and uses his magic and strikes him with it, and he falls to the ground dead. And on the next day, Ain takes the princess of the kingdom and they go to the library of the empire, because it has many books through which he can know where the rest of the trees are. And as soon as they reach the door, the princess of the kingdom tells him, "I will not be able to continue with you after this, because I cannot enter without the permission of the librarian." So he asks her, "How do I get her permission?" So she tells him, "As long as you manage to pass through this door, then you got the approval." So Ain opens the door and indeed manages to enter inside, and calls Yuri to enter with him, but she suddenly hits an invisible wall, and it prevents her from entering. So Ursula appears and says, "What happened? The connection between me and you suddenly got cut off. This barrier must be the reason." So Ain is forced to enter alone. And after he enters, he stands amazed by the beauty of the library. But he quickly realizes that he must find the book that will guide him to the trees among all these books. And suddenly, Ain finds a girl falling from above, and runs to her quickly to catch her, and manages to catch her at the last moment. And he asks her, "Who are you and how did you fall from above?" So she replies to him, "I am Alice. I am the librarian here. I fell from above because I was reading my book and got absorbed in it, and did not notice myself at that moment." And Alice takes out a wand from her pocket and returns the book to its place while standing. So Ain stands, shocked by what she did, but he does not care, and tells her, "I want a book that has the locations of the world trees, because I want to help my friend to meet her family." So Alice gives him the book, and suddenly asks him, "How is Yuri doing now? I know that your left eye is the core of her tree, because I am also a world tree." So Ain stands surprised by what she is saying. So Alice's guardian enters on them and greets Ain. So Ain says to Alice, "Yuri and Pina are standing outside. Come with me so you can meet them." So the guardian replies instead of her, "Unfortunately she cannot leave. This place does not exist directly in the kingdom, because it is hidden secretly, and what connects between the kingdom and the library is the gate that you entered from. And no one is supposed to enter here without the permission of the king and the librarian, because we made a contract with the state that we will use the power of the tree in protecting this library, because as you know all the secrets of the kingdom are here, and in return me and Alice will stay here and read all the books that exist. But if Alice passes this gate and leaves, this contract will be broken. And so that Alice can meet her siblings normally, you must find the secret dungeon and take her out from it. And besides all that, Alice does not want to leave from here at all, because she does not like dealing with humans." So Ain goes to Alice and tells her, "I know that you want to meet your siblings, but you are afraid. I was like you one day as well. But thanks to Yuri and the others, I was able to gather my courage. I ask you to trust me only, and I promise you that I will take you out from here, and you will see your siblings again. I will come to you tomorrow, and I will have found the secret dungeon, and then I will take you with me." And on the next day, Ain returns to the library again, after he found the place of the secret dungeon, and takes Alice and flies with her upward, and tells her, "I promised you that I will reunite you with your siblings again." And before Ain and Alice leave the place, the guardian goes to him and gives him the core of her world tree, and she prepares herself as well to go with them. And after that the three of them walk on the path and face enemies together, and Ain manages to destroy them all. And in the end Ain reaches the core of the secret dungeon, and meets the guardian that protects it, and enters with him in a very strong battle, but he manages to defeat him finally, and takes from him his abilities and skills, and the three of them manage to get out from there. And after a while, Ain takes Alice and they go to the house where they live, and Yuri goes to her and hugs her tightly and welcomes her, and Yuri thanks Ain, because he reunited her with her sister again. And after that, Ain is sitting alone, so the guild master goes to him with Jasper, and they tell him centuries ago, the demons were expelled from the human world, but in the recent period, we have seen many of them in a small village on the edge of the kingdom. We want you to go there and kill the demons. We cannot allow them to destroy the whole village. There is no one but you who can save this mission. So Ain immediately agrees to help them. So Ursula appears and tells him we do not have time to save people we do not know. So Ain replies to her, you and Yuri saved me without knowing me as well. I know that you are afraid because we will face very strong enemies, but I want to use my power for good. And after a while, the people of the village are all walking together, so they can meet the monster that protects their village. But in exchange for this protection, the people of the village give it a woman or a girl so it can eat them. And there is a father holding his daughter's hand and walking, and she is the one whose turn has come so the monster can eat her. So the girl tells her father while smiling, I am hungry. So the father looks at her while sad, and tells her wait a little, and you will go to a place that has a lot of food. So she replies to him happily, that must be the place where my mother went. And after that, the monster comes in front of them. So the father tells his daughter go to that monster so it can take you to a better place. Unfortunately, I will not be able to go with you. So the girl tells him while crying, when my mother left, you were crying all the time. But when I leave, like her, please do not cry, because there will be no one to comfort you. I knew everything. And the girl says goodbye to him and runs quickly toward the monster. But the father cannot bear to see his daughter being eaten, and runs to her quickly and hugs her, and tells her, I cannot leave you and go. So the people of the village shout at him, and tell him, what are you doing? You will destroy our village like this. So the man asks the monster to eat him with his daughter. So the monster tells him, I do not like men. We made an agreement with you. You must deliver a woman every month, or we will not protect you from the monsters. But since you angered me, I will destroy your village. And the monster releases poisonous gas from its mouth to kill the people of the village, and rushes at the girl to eat her. But suddenly Ain comes quickly and makes a defensive barrier, and orders Yuri to heal the people of the village, and tells them run away quickly, and I will kill this monster. And Ain takes out his sword and cuts it into small pieces, so the people of the village stand shocked from what they saw, and they cannot believe what happened. So the people of the village go to him and thank him very much, but when Ain asks them about the ruler of the village, they look at him and suddenly become sad. And the father tells him, we appreciate that you helped us. Without you we would have died, but death is surely better than what is coming, and the people of the village leave. So the little girl goes to Ain, and tells him while crying, thank you for saving me. So Ain puts his hand on her head and pats her. And after that, Ain goes to meet the ruler of the village, and finds him sitting in a very luxurious palace, compared to the houses and the condition of the people around him. And Ain enters the palace and calls him, and tells him, I came from the Adventurers Guild. So the ruler comes down from above, and tells him, I know you. You are the one who killed the legendary dragon. And they sit for a while together to talk. And Ain asks him, I want to know everything about the demons that appeared recently with you. So the ruler of the village tells him, while surprised, I have not seen demons appear here before. We are close to the forest, and it is known that it is full of many monsters. It might be rumors or something. But Ain asks him to explore the village, and tells him, I am sure that the people here are suffering from this matter. I noticed that when I killed the giant monster. So the ruler stands and looks at him while shocked, and tells him, while trembling from fear, what did you do? The village will now be exposed to attacks from other monsters. That giant monster was protecting the village from any attack on it. So Ain asks him angrily then, why was it asking for women to eat them? Did you want me to see a little girl being eaten and stay silent? So he tells him, we sacrifice one person to save the village. You cannot stay here and protect it by yourself. We are the ones who will live here after you. Not everyone has your strength. Besides that, my duty is to protect the village by any means. And after that the ruler leaves him and goes away. And he goes and stands in front of the mirror and talks to his imaginary friend. And the surprise is that there is actually a man inside the mirror who looks exactly like the ruler. But he is one of the 5 demons. And the ruler does not know him. So the demon tells him, I want you to kill Ain. No human can defeat a monster this strong. Ain must be the demon that is being talked about. if you want to protect the village, go to him and kill him. So the ruler looks at him and smiles and goes to finish him off, and after he leaves, the demon says it is easy for me to control someone weak like you. Very soon I will take over your whole body. And on the other side, Ain stands in front of the village wall and finds it completely destroyed, and he also notices that there are no soldiers or guards in the place, and thus the monsters will be able to enter whenever they want. And while he is walking, he finds a working woman, and tries to ask her about anything so he can understand the situation of the village, but suddenly the woman drops the wood from her hand and runs quickly. And he goes to another man sitting in the place, and asks him to talk with him for a while. So the man tells him unfortunately the monsters appeared and destroyed all the lands. After the giant monster died, in 2 or 3 days we will die. We only wish to live a peaceful life. Return to your country and live your life. So Ain puts his hand on the ground, and uses his magic, and plants some seeds in it, and they grow very quickly. And he goes to the wall of the city, and builds a stronger one through his magic, and tells him this will prevent the monsters. If there is anything else I should help you with, please tell me, but I hope that you do not give up. I want you to live the life that you wished for. So the man looks at him and laughs a lot, and tells him, you reminded me of the previous ruler. He used to ask us not to give up no matter what happened. That person was very brave and strong, but everything changed after his son took power. At that time the giant monster appeared, and made an agreement without even consulting us, and reduced all our defenses, and raised the taxes on us, and when the people could not it anymore they went to his house. But they did not return again, but you gave me hope again. And suddenly Ain feels something strange and feels that there is an army of monsters coming to them now, and says even if they were 1,000, I will kill them all. I will not allow anyone to destroy the village. And he climbs on the wall so he can see their exact number, and he finds that their number is much bigger than expected. And Ain says if they attack us all at once, the wall that I built will not withstand, and the village will be completely destroyed. And he looks to the other side at the people of the village, and finds them in a state of shock, and they say our end has come. Monsters in this number will kill us very easily. So Ain remembers the words of the little girl to him, and how happy she was at that time, and his promise to the man that he will protect the village. And he orders the people of the village to run away from here immediately, and jumps into the air so he can face the monsters away from the village, and says I promised that I will protect them with my life, and it is impossible that I break my promise. And Ain uses magic in a large amount, and launches it at them all at once, but unfortunately their number is very big, and they rush quickly toward the village as if he did nothing, and he stands unable to do anything. So some monsters attack Ain in the air, but he manages to kill them all, and uses some large spells on them, so he can kill a large number of monsters, but all of this is not enough. And at the same time, the people of the village are running away from the place, but when they look behind them and see Ain's power, they stand in place shocked, and cannot believe that a human can have this power at all. And during that, Yuri tells Ain at this rate you will die like this, but Ain does not care about her words. And he puts his hand on his sword and expands the range of his attack. So Ursula tells him, what are you doing? You are using all your magical power like this. Even if you kill them all you will also perish because of your excessive use of power. You must stop immediately. So Ain tells her I will never run away and leave the village. And he swings his sword and manages to kill all the monsters that are there. And after that, Ain falls to the ground unconscious, so Yuri goes to him quickly to treat him, and discovers that Ain used a large amount of energy, but she manages to heal him. So Ain gets up and thanks her. So the little girl comes and hugs Ain, and the people of the village go to him and thank him all, because he saved their village from its inevitable fate. So the man who spoke with Ain before stands up and calls the people of the village, and tells them how long will you stay like this? Ain was about to die while protecting us, and stood in front of a whole army of monsters alone, and all we did was that we ran away only. We must also fight after that, and not let anyone come to help us again, and risk his whole life for us. So all the people of the village look at him, and get motivated by his words, and shout loudly. So Ain tells Yuri, this scene reminded me when you saved me the first time, you brought back my confidence in myself, besides the other things that you gave me. So one of the men says Ain is right, we will not allow the ruler of the village to control us again. But suddenly, the ruler of the village comes and puts his hand on him and asks him what did you say? So the people of the village look at him and get scared, but they say we will not follow you anymore. So the ruler of the village tells them, Ain is deceiving all of you. Ain is the demon that I was telling you about. It is impossible that a human can defeat the giant monster. And this army of monsters alone, all of this is from his acting. And his goal is to take this whole village for himself. But do not worry, I am the one who will protect you and kill him. So the people of the village reply to him, even if he is a demon we agree, at least he will be better than our current situation. Ain sacrificed his life to protect us, But you were sacrificing our women to protect yourself. We need someone who fights with us like your father used to do. So the ruler remembers his father, but suddenly he feels severe pain in his head, and falls to the ground from the pain, and calls his imaginary friend who is the demon to help him, and says the people of the village none of them believed me, and takes out a small mirror from his pocket. So when Ain sees it and tries to use his appraisal skill, he knows that it is very dangerous, and rushes at the ruler so he can stop him from using it. But suddenly he finds the ruler of the village himself in a strange world, and sitting next to him is his imaginary friend, and the demon tells him, I want you to kill them all. There is no benefit from them anymore. Finish them like you killed your father. So the ruler tells him, but my father was sick and died because of his illness. So the demon looks at him and laughs a lot, and tells him, what you do not know is that you are the one who killed him. And we return to the past. At that time the ruler of the village is a small child, and goes to his father who was the ruler of the village at that time, and finds him helping one of the people. So the ruler looks at him while smiling, and says, my father is really an amazing person, and all the people love him. I wish to be in his place one day. And he runs to him, but he trips on the way and falls to the ground. So two of the people who were standing with his father go to him, so they can check on him, and they find that signs of illness appeared on him. So he tells them, do not worry about me, I am about to recover soon. And after that, the ruler goes to play with the children of the village, but he finds the children refusing to play with him, and they say, our mothers told us not to play with you, because you are sick, and they take each other and run quickly. So the ruler stands looking at the ground and is very sad. And the ruler walks in the streets sad and crying, and while he is walking, he hears some people talking about him, and they say this child does not resemble his father at all. He is weak and will not be the future of the village. So the ruler starts running while crying, but he trips and falls to the ground, and finds that there is some water on the ground, and looks at himself while crying. And from here the demon appears for the first time in his life, and tells him, do not be sad from people's words. There is no need for you to compare yourself to your father. I will be your imaginary friend, but keep it a secret between us so no one knows, because I will disappear if anyone knows. So the ruler looks at him while happy, because this is the first time he has a friend, and after that he sits with him all the time and they play together, and he is with him everywhere he goes. But the day comes when the ruler is walking in his palace, and finds his father very sick, and returns to his room and sits thinking about how to help him, and tells his friend, I am very worried about my father. He looks very sick. And here the demon takes advantage of what is happening, and tells him, I know a plant that can heal your father. Go bring it and make him drink it. So the ruler goes quickly and opens the herb guidebook, and indeed finds that this plant heals diseases. And the ruler goes and gives his father a drink made from this plant, and his father starts drinking it and finds that it tastes good, and feels that he is improving greatly. So the ruler looks at him and becomes very happy, and decides that whenever he sees his father tired he gives him from this plant, to the point that he was planting it in their land. Until the day comes when the ruler enters on his father to give him the plant to drink, but he finds him dead on the bed. So the ruler keeps crying in front of his imaginary friend, and tells him, I will never be able to protect the village by myself. So his friend replies to him, do not worry, I will help you deal with things. And we return to the present again. At that time the demon tells the ruler, you are the one who killed your father with your own hands, and I am the one who helped you do that. I am the one who changed the words written in the herb guide book about that plant. Originally that plant is poisonous. So the ruler looks at him shocked from what he heard, and cannot believe himself, and starts crying, and becomes more shocked when he knows that his friend is the demon. So he tells him, my plan was to control your father, and trade humans to the demon world. But he was always strong and focused, but you were very easy. I was moving you as I wanted, and as soon as I told you that we are friends you fell immediately. Because of you I was able to send a large number of humans to the demon world, and now I will take control of your body completely. And at the same time Ain tries to get closer to the ruler, but he cannot because of the aura coming out of him, and feels that the one in front of him is not the ruler. So Ain asks him, who are you? So he replies to him, I am one of the 5 demons. You are the reason for everything that happened. I was exploiting the ruler to weaken the village's forces, and sending humans to the demon world, but you ruined the whole plan, and left me with no other choice but to do this. And do not worry, I am not like the foolish demon who came to kill you. As long as I am in this body, you will not be able to strike me, because if you kill me the ruler will die with me. And now I will kill you very easily. And the demon brings out arms from the ground and sends them at Ain to strike him, so Ain avoids the strike and makes a defensive barrier on himself. But the demon manages to destroy it very easily, and summons many monsters from the ground in front of the people of the village. So Ain runs toward them to save them, and asks the people of the village to run away quickly. So, the demon keeps summoning many monsters, and breaks the defensive barrier. And the monsters attack the people of the village, but Ain creates copies of himself, so they can fight the monsters. But when he sees one of the monsters holding a person, and about to kill him, he realizes that he must make more copies quickly, but the demon comes from behind him and punches him with a strong punch. And he comes down on Ain with many strikes, so Ain blocks the strikes but stands unable to do anything, and activates the fortress technique, which makes him block any strike that comes to him. But he will not be able to move from his place, so Ursula shouts at him, and tells him enough defending like this, nothing will change this way, but Ain is afraid for the ruler to kill him. So the demon tells him mockingly, will you keep standing like this? Stop being a coward and come kill me. I honestly do not understand you. You can sacrifice the ruler and kill me normally and then you will be able to protect the people here. So Ain replies to him, I will not sacrifice anyone, I will save them all. And Ain calls the ruler so he can hear him and respond to his call. So the demon looks at him and laughs at him, and tells him no matter how much you scream you will not be able to do anything. So Ain removes the shield on him and begins to move toward the demon. And the demon comes down on him with many strikes through his arms and looks at him in surprise and asks how can a person take all these strikes and remain fine. So Ursula calls Ain and tells him, what are you doing? Do not be reckless. Even Yuri's healing ability will not be able to treat you this way. But Ain does not care about her words, and keeps getting closer to the demon so he can bring back the ruler, and grabs him tightly from his clothes, and says I want to help the ruler and the people of the village together, and Ain hits him with his head strongly, and the demon falls to the ground unconscious. And at the same time, the ruler is in a strange world, sitting and blaming himself for everything, and wishing that he would disappear from this world, because of him many people were harmed. And suddenly he hears Ain calling him, trying to wake him up. So the ruler says I wanted to protect the village, so I can be like my father. I wanted all the people to love me like they loved him, because he was always helping people. I cannot forgive myself, and the ruler starts crying, because he completely failed in his mission. And he says I just wanted a friend who loves me, but the demon was always exploiting me. I should have known everything, but I was foolish. But I will not give up. I will return again and protect the village from him. And the ruler stands up and starts walking, and heads toward the light, and exits the world he is in. And at the same time, the demon gets up from the ground to continue the fight, and rushes at Ain and attacks him, but suddenly his body stops moving, because the ruler is resisting his control, and calls Ain and thanks him, and takes out a dagger from his pocket and stabs himself with it. So Ain stands shocked by what he did. So the demon says, what are you doing? Do you want to die, you fool? So the ruler tells him, honestly I knew that you were not just an illusion, but I pretended not to notice, because you were my only friend. Yes, you exploited me and made many people get harmed because of me. But despite that I consider you my only friend. I remember every moment we lived together. I was happy with the time I spent with you. So the demon tells him, to me you were just someone I exploited. I used to get very angry whenever I saw you, because you were too weak. If you are going to die, then die alone. And suddenly a small strange creature comes out from the ruler's body, and tries to escape quickly, but finds the little girl, so he goes to her to control her. But Ain throws the sword at him and hits him in the middle of his head, and runs to the ruler quickly to save him, and tries to heal him together with Yuri, and they make a very great effort, until finally they manage to heal him, and the ruler wakes up from his faint. But he tells them angrily, why did you save me? I was supposed to die. Sacrificing my life was the only way to forgive myself. So Ain replies to him, I will never sacrifice you. Each one of us deserves a second chance. So the people of the village come, and one of them tells him, honestly if I were you I would never forgive you, because I hate everything you did. But your death will not bring back the villagers. And so that we forgive you for what you did, you must fix everything yourself. There is no place for escape anymore. So the ruler looks at them, and starts crying intensely, and thanks them for giving him a second chance. And while they are standing, Yuri collapses, so Ain holds her quickly and asks her what is wrong. So she replies to him, I think I exhausted myself while healing the ruler. So Ain carries her and takes her under a tree so she can rest a bit, and thanks her for what she did with him, and says angrily, I will make the demons regret everything they did, because they exploit people. And after a while, the demon moves in a smaller size, after Ain struck him with the dagger, and tries to escape quickly before he dies. But Pina makes a barrier on him and calls Ain to come see him. So Ain tells him, there is something I want to ask you. Why are you trying to kill me? And what is your goal? If you tell me I will let you go and not harm you. But as soon as the demon starts talking, his body suddenly explodes. So they all stand shocked. So Ursula says there is a spell placed on him, that his body explodes if he decides to reveal secret information. And at night, Ain says goodbye to the people of the village, and they thank him for the last time for what he did with them, and the ruler goes to him and thanks him as well. and tells him I want to ask you for a final request. I want you to continue protecting this village forever. As you know, there are many monsters in the place. So the people of the village tell him we will also fight with you. We need you to be with us. And on the next day, Ain stands in front of the king, and the king asks him to become the ruler of the village, and tells him I wanted to give you a gift after you killed the demon. And the ruler personally came to me and asked me to transfer the rule of this village to you. And he also surrendered himself to the government. Because of you, stability returned again to the region. You deserve this position. So Jasper tells him, do not worry at all. I will take care of everything. You can build new relationships as the ruler of the village. And it can also make it easier for you to find any information about the world trees. So Ain goes to the king and agrees with humility to become the ruler. And on the other side in the demon world, there are two sitting talking about the killing of 2 of the 5 demons, and they say that it is a disgrace for them. And suddenly a demoness comes from behind them, and hits one of them on his head and rips it off, and tells the other, I do not like weak ones, who think highly of themselves. So the other man stands shocked, because the one standing in front of him is the strongest demoness in terms of power, and he apologizes to her very much for what he said with his friend. So this demoness orders him to clean the place of his dead friend. So the man goes quickly and leaves. And after a while, Echidna is sitting watching Ain, and says we must kill you so we do not get into trouble later. So the demoness comes and asks her, what did you want from me? And she tells her, this young man in front of you possesses great power, and his presence is a danger to us. He managed to defeat 2 of the 5 demons very easily. Anyway, I want you to go and bring me one of the world trees, and you will most likely meet Ain on your way, because his goal is to visit the world trees. So the demoness leaves. And at the same time in the kingdom, Alice enters to Ain and Yuri, and tells him there is something important I want to talk to you about. Something about our sisters. I was using my tracking skill, so I can search for the other world trees, and I think I found one by coincidence. So Ain and her sisters look at her and become excited, and say let's go so we can go there. But suddenly they hear a strange sound in the room, so they look around to search for the source of the sound. But they do not find anything, but when they turn their faces to the other side, they find a new sister named Krosh sitting on the bed. So Ain looks at her while shocked and asks her, who are you? So Yuri goes to her to hug her, but she cannot, and that is because the one in front of them is not her real body. So Krosh tells them there is a demoness who wants to target our youngest sister, and we want Ain to help us. The enemy is very strong, but we are holding on, and after her guardian died I became the one protecting her now. So Ain looks at her and asks her then, who is protecting your world tree? So Alice replies, instead of her, Krosh is our oldest sister, and she has the ability to move by herself without transferring through her tree core. So she will be able to protect her tree and our sister's tree. And Alice asks her, will you not be able to defeat that demoness with your evil eye? So she replies to her, I can, but I will destroy our sister's tree in return, because it is difficult to control this eye. So Ain agrees immediately that he will help them, and tells Krosh, go ahead, and we will catch up with you. And after that, Ain reaches the secret dungeon of the world tree, and uses his tracking skill so he can know the way. And after that Ain jumps quickly so he can reach faster, and while he is running, he finds many flies in the air circling around a demoness, and she tells him, I am one of the 5 demons, and I came here to kill you, and orders the flies to attack him. So when they gather around him, he disappears suddenly, and comes from behind the demoness and stabs her with his sword, and tells her, I will never show mercy to demons. And suddenly many flies come out from her body, and she turns into a small fly like them, and orders them to attack him again. So Ain uses fire shots, and destroys all the flies that are there. So the demoness looks at him and is shocked by his power, and leaves quickly and escapes, and opens a gate to the demon world. But suddenly she meets the strongest demoness among the 5 demons, the one sent by Echidna to kill Ain and kidnap one of her sisters, and she asks her, do you want to escape? So the demoness who is escaping looks at her, and becomes very nervous, and tells her, I found him much stronger than I expected. So she shoots her with her gun and kills her, and says demons should not escape. So Ain comes from behind her, and says this must be the demoness that Krosh told me about, she must be at a different level than all demons. So the demoness tells him, I heard that you are excessively strong. I can sense your magical energy. It was supposed that servants are the ones who kill you. But I came to kidnap the world tree, and at the same time I will kill you. So Ain goes to her from behind suddenly, and uses his magic to strike her, and manages to throw her away, and jumps at her in the air suddenly and keeps hitting her with consecutive strikes, and punches her hard and throws her to the ground. So the demoness gets up and laughs at him, and tells him, I did not expect you to be this strong. No one has ever made me bleed. And she takes out her gun and shoots at him, and she says there is no use trying to dodge or block it, because it will catch you no matter what and hit your body. But Ain uses his sword and blocks the strike, and reflects her attack back to her, so the demoness looks shocked, and asks herself how these bullets are supposed to be unblockable. And the bullets hit her and she feels intense pain and steps back, and says there is something strange, I cannot use my abilities. And suddenly, Ain comes from behind her and strikes her with his sword, and manages to cut off her head, and approaches her and asks her, how did I cut your head and you are still alive? Anyway, I used my skill to steal your magical energy. So she tells him while shocked, I am the strongest demoness among the 5 demons. I have never lost a single battle. I will not allow someone like you to defeat me. I will return to the demon world, and come back again and kill you this time. And after a while, Ain reaches the place of the world tree, and Krosh opens the gate for him so he can enter, and Krosh welcomes them. So Yuri goes to her and greets her, and Ain asks her where is the little world tree. So she replies to him she is sleeping there. So Ain goes to her and finds a small child and says I should leave her sleeping for a while. So Ain goes back to leave. But he steps on a tree branch, so the child wakes up and looks at him while scared of him, because it is the first time she sees him. So Ain says what should I do now, and tries to calm her down, but she gets more scared and cries louder. So Yuri goes to her and stands in front of her, and when her little sister sees her she jumps on her and hugs her. And after that she goes to the rest of her sisters and greets them. But when she sees Ain again, she screams loudly and says there is a monster here. So Yuri explains to her that Ain is a kind person and he is the one who saved her. So the girl apologizes to him and goes to him to play with him, and Ain pats her, and stands up and lifts her up and holds her. So the little girl loves this move very much and asks him to lift her higher. So Ain gets excited and jumps very high, and quickly realizes that he went too high. So Krosh says our sister's crying will continue for a week, and when Ain comes down to the ground again, they all wait for her reaction. And suddenly the girl laughs and loves playing with him, and tells him I want to go with you. So Ain takes Krosh's opinion, since she is the one protecting her. So Krosh agrees immediately, and tells him I will protect this place in your absence. So Ain asks her will you not come with us? So she replies it is not possible, I am the only one protecting the tree here. So he tells her I know that you want to come with us. There is no need for you to sacrifice yourself. Do not worry about this place. I will make a big barrier and leave a copy of myself here. So if there is any danger or something attacks. So Krosh thanks him very much, and brings out 2 world tree cores, hers and the little girl's, and gives them to him, and goes with her sisters and celebrates with them. So Ain stands with Ursula, and tells her I managed to gather Yuri with her sisters again. Only 4 are left. Anyway, I always used to hate myself, and I used to feel that I had no value, but after I met you and Yuri everything changed, even my feelings changed. I started to feel pride and courage now. And after that Ursula takes the 2 tree cores and plants them in Ain. So Krosh goes to him and tells him be careful, the evil eye that you gained from me is very dangerous, and if you activate it, it will take a large amount of your magical energy. Besides that, controlling it is difficult, but still it is powerful, and you will be able to win any battle easily. So the little girl also goes to him, and tells him my power is that I control trees, and brings out a giant tree from the ground. So Ain stands amazed and says this skill will be very useful to us. After that, they all go to the village, so they can prepare to live in it, and they stay in the former ruler's palace. So Ain tells them first we must clean it from the dust, and Ain and Alice go to clean the library, and tells her these books remind me of the first time I met you. I know that you love books, I think this room will be useful for you. And on the other side, Yuri and Ursula are sitting cleaning the bathrooms, so Yuri tells her I am now enjoying my time very much. When I was at the World Tree, I wanted to try everything, and learn more things. I discovered myself when I went with Ain. Now I can enjoy everything. So Ursula tells her I will remain happy as long as you are happy. And after a while Ain finishes cleaning the room, and goes out to see what the others did, and finds Yuri coming down the stairs wearing a beautiful dress. And Ain stands amazed by her beauty, and asks her why are you wearing this? So she replies to him we thought that we will make a welcome party for Krosh and my little sister, and takes Ain by his hand and goes to her sisters. So Pina gives him a suit so he can wear it. And after that, they all prepare so they can start the party, and enjoy their time before they set off on their journey, and everyone is sitting happy and cheerful. And at sunset, Ain stands with Yuri on the balcony, and Yuri thanks him because he reunited her with her sisters again. So Ain tells her I promise you that I will find your remaining sisters. Thanks to you and the others, I started to enjoy every day in my life, and that makes me very happy. I will do my best, so we can live all our coming days better than our past days.